Hello my people, it's David here from Mejia Beef itself and welcome to a new video. I know it's been a long time since we've seen each other face to face here on YouTube and on the camera, and I want to welcome you back to my YouTube channel and to this new video. Today's video is about Steve Jobs' book. We all know the story of Steve Jobs, right? We've seen the movie. Some of you, I bet you've read other books or maybe the same books. So this is not a review because we all know when he started Apple with his partner, with Wozniak, then he got fired. He founded another company called Next. Then he went into Pixar, which I didn't know, and it's a bonus because I love Toy Story. He participated in the Toy Story makeup and all the IPO of Pixar as well, which for those of you who don't know what's an IPO is an initial public offering. It's when a company goes public and offers share for other investors to buy. And then after that, he went back to Apple because Apple was going down on the learning curve and was about to crash. Horrible numbers, horrible revenues, horrible performance. So they said, hey Steve, come back, we need you. So we all know the story. But I think, and to be honest, the best thing I found about this book as a general concept is that they don't picture here the bad Steve Jobs we all know, we can see in the movies or we heard in the rumors, right? When we think about Steve Jobs, we think, oh, he was impulsive, he was angry, he was a bad teammate, he was a bad boss, he made people feel bad. And yeah, some of that is true. And they say it in this book. But in this book, they picture him as a leader, as a person who throughout the years was doing a great effort to master his emotions because he was super impulsive in order to provide the better outcome in any situation he was. So that's a key aspect of this book that makes it different, right? Because reading a book about a person, and if they picture that person as an angry one, is not that interesting. But here, you can see the evolution of Steve Jobs. So that is why I recommend this book. So I want to share with you 3 main ideas that I have taken away from this book. The first one is, and they quoted himself, that he said at what time, I prefer to look ahead at the things that will come. This shows that when you have passion and you failed in the past, don't look about your failures in the past. Instead, look of the future, of the opportunities, like, hey, I made this mistake, take ownership of that mistake, don't blame it on someone else, and then say, okay, I've learned these things, I can apply this way, and I'm going to look for the future. And that's what Steve Jobs did in the, 10, 20, 30 years gap. When he started Apple, when he founded Next, when he went to Pixar, and then when he came back to Apple. So he looked at the future and he had passion, right? And yeah, and he believed in the things he was doing. So that's an important thing, to look for the future, because you cannot look to the future if you don't believe what you're doing in the present, right? It's going to be super, super hard to keep you convinced in a false conviction in a 10 years time. Maybe you can convince yourself every day that what you're doing is the best thing, but in reality it's not. So first, start something you believe, start something where you have passion, and look for the long term. The second takeaway that I've taken from this book is, when he messed things up, and it surprised me because I thought he was doing the following. I thought he was blaming the co-workers or the employees. And here in this book, they picture him as a true leader. Because a true leader, when they fail, he is not like, hey, it's your fault, hey, it's your fault, you're fired, hey. No, he sat down and he said, okay, we failed, it's my responsibility, what can we do? And as a whole, as a team, they try to come up with an idea, with a solution. Initially, on the movie, the movie I've seen. I think you've seen it too. He was like, okay, it's your fault, you're fired. The impulsive one. Well, here in this book they say, hey, yeah, he was impulsive, but he was a leader. And as a leader, he sat down and said, okay, we have failed, what can we do to resolve this problem? And eventually, they went the next day and started working without dwelling. That, if you can see, this connects to the first idea, which is look for the future, don't keep in the past dwelling, or no, learn from the mistakes, be a good leader, sit down, say we have failed, acknowledge the failure, but try to look for a solution and work as a group, as a whole, as a team. And the third topic and main idea, and this is my favorite one, and I'm gonna read it because this is a very interesting sentence that I've taken from the book. So pay attention. The author says, he, Steve Jobs, knew from an early age that words and the correct stories will help him to gain that attention necessary to achieve his goals. Right? From early on the beginnings, he knew that he had a powerful tool. Public speaking, words. And he took advantage of that. If you've seen a lot of presentation, actually one of my favorites is the first presentation of the Macintosh in 1984. You can search it on YouTube, it's only like 4 or 5 minutes. And he uses the words in a way that only few people in this world can or could. He did different presentations and he did different techniques to grab attention. And that attention, that hype, you can see in the audience, they're clapping, doing ovations to him, and he knew he had a powerful tool. And over the years, they said in the book that he was practicing, talking with experts in that field because he wanted to master it. And he was not the best. He was nervous, and he admitted, and it's okay to be nervous. And he knew that he had the tool of words to grab the attention necessary so the customers were interested on the products, and he mastered it super well. And that's a key marketing strategy that now you can see all in the books and theoretically explained. And in 1994, 1980s, he was applying it before anyone else. So it's awesome the way he thought about it and the way he implemented it. And finally, to end this video, I want to share with you one thing that I've seen in this book, right? That sometimes ego gets in the way of learning. What I want to say is that Steve Jobs and all of us have ego, right? Now let's apply it to Steve Jobs. He had ego. And in the first years, that ego was bigger than him. And sometimes when you believe and when you have that strong ego and you think you're the best or you can do everything, you fail even bigger. And failing comes with learning. But if you have ego, you won't be open to that learning process. So they crash. They get one in front of other and you cannot move and you're there in the middle. So leave the ego apart, accept the failures, but learn. And if you read this book, and I'm telling you right now, I totally recommend it, you will see that ego stood in the way of learning in the first years of Apple, in Steve Jobs' case. Because he was egocentric, he thought he was the best, he had to learn some things. Better management, better marketing, better software making, how to treat your employees, how to keep them motivated, loads of things that we all have to learn. But his ego stand there in front of the learning process, so he didn't learn at all. He kept being egocentric, and then they fired him. That's the outcome. And you see, you have to leave your ego apart, learn, acknowledge your failures, and be the best version you can be. And yeah, this is everything about the book. To be honest, it surprised me because I think that, I thought that Steve Jobs was a selfish, egocentric man all over his career, but I've seen that we have a misconception about him, the Stanford speech he gave. I recommend you watch it. It's only 15 minutes, and there's a quote that he says, "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." To finish this video, as he did to finish his presentation, I want to tell you that you must follow your heart, you must follow your intuition. We have a life, we must live a life that we want. We must follow our dreams, we must follow our passion. It will be worth it, because even if you don't succeed deep in your heart, you will be happy. And for me, happiness is the most important thing. So, as Steve Jobs said to finish his speech, I'm going to tell you, stay hungry, stay foolish. I love that speech. Go and watch it out, because I recommend it 100%. I love it. And guys, this is the end of the video. As I told you, this is not a history review. This is not a biography review. This is a review of the concepts I think they're most important to take away from this book. I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments what you've thought about this video, about Steve Jobs, and which topics do you want me to discuss. Next week we're gonna talk about extreme ownership, so subscribe, activate the notification button, and leave it a like, because you support me and I'm grateful for that. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because without you, this channel wouldn't exist. And that's everything. I hope you like it. Best wishes for you this weekend. Stay healthy, enjoy, and take care. Always wear your mask during this coronavirus crisis. Stay healthy, and see you next week.